The most important part of an RPG experience is how well it situates the player into its world. A foundational piece of that is the overworld, as it puts scale, life, and transition into our journeys. Many RPGs over the years have simplified the overworld to point-and-click travels, exchanging convenience for the stifling sense of man-made boundaries. But nothing can beat the thrill of discovering the world around our characters and their place in it the good old-fashioned way. Warning, there are spoilers all throughout this video. Be sure to check the timecodes in the description to avoid them. So, without further ado, here are 5 JRPGs that meet my ideals of an engrossing and immersive overworld. Number 5. For a game I don't like, I sure talk about it a lot. Breath of Fire 2. You know, I quite enjoy this world. At first glance, it might seem like the old run-of-the-mill world, you know, forests, mountains, bodies of water, blah blah blah. It's nice to see a day and night cycle, the opportunity to go fishing, but what makes this overworld so special is the need of various characters to traverse it. Special and frustrating, as if you don't have the correct characters, you'll have to backtrack to go and get them. In order to hunt, you'll either need Bo to shoot Quarry, or Cat to beat him upside the head with her staff. Cat can take it a step further and smash rocks. Rand is able to ball up and roll, traversing paths without fear of random encounters. However, if you crash, then you're more than likely to get confronted. Sten can stretch his arms, but my favorite is Jean. He can turn into a giant frog to hop on cliffs and swim in shallow waters. The utility of your party members offer another layer of dimension to the overworld, a sense of physics and reasoning that helps make the world feel more substantial than the visual representation alone. Being able to interact with the world in so many contextual ways gives the setting a physical presence, which lends itself to an immersive experience. It was fun to see our characters contribute to the adventure outside of typical combat encounters, while allowing for faster travel and fun visuals. It's a simple touch that goes a long way in elevating a frustrating game to a more bearable experience. Number 4. Baby's first big girl JRPG. I love exploring a dying world, how the people are coping and how the world's crumbling. It gives you motivation to try and save it. Phantasy Star 4 takes place 1,000 years after the events of Phantasy Star 2 and 1,000 years before Phantasy Star 3. A little-known event known as the Great Collapse reverted the once thriving planet of Motavia back into a desert land. This is due to the failure of the climate and biosphere controlling devices previously installed, and Motavia's inhabitants struggle with daily life as consequence. But their struggles aren't what this video is about. Instead, how the overworld achieves the look and feeling of nature's death and decay. The first area you start in is a barren desert land, with visible hints of remaining life illustrated by the sporadic patches of greenery. You can also find wreckage spots that are fun to explore. Plus, you got the standard caves and the mountains constantly blocking your path. Another cool thing you'll be able to traverse later are the sand oceans with the Land Rover. But wait, there's more. Having one overworld map is fine, but why not double the fun? Later, you go to a whole other planet, Dezolis, which has an entirely different map. Instead of sandy oceans, you have mountains of ice that are destroyed with the Ice Digger, and it's so satisfying to carve a path through. Phantasy Star 4 is full of fun, intergalactic exploration. Number 3. A game I've yet to review on the channel. I played this back in 2013. It was the first game I've ever played on my flat screen TV. I also played it on Mother's Day, and well, if you know, you know. No Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, one of the best-selling games on the PS3, and for good reason. Together with Studio Ghibli, developer Level 5 brings the charm, beauty, and dreamlike wonder of films like Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away to the RPG genre, resulting in an experience equal parts fun and cinematic. The fantastical story, colorful cast, refreshing take on monster hunting gameplay, and the spectacular visuals make it a must-play. One of the most gripping elements of the game is the illustrious world itself. Unlike other overworlds, No Kuni captivates the player with luscious and divine scenery. It does away with the convention of situating the player's perspective of the overworld on a flat surface. Instead, the world has some dimension, some body, baby. The landscapes are so varied and imaginative, with scale and shape that feels lively and natural. Looking around at mountains I could climb or how unique cities looked was so easy to fall in love with and get lost in the beauty of the overworld. The first area alone is lush with vibrant greens that make you want to get out there. Transitions shown by the color palette adds another flavor, a virtual cue of change. We go from deep greens to autumn oranges and yellows. It's a natural and beautiful progression. Even places as barren as a desert look fun to mess around in. Also, we love a game with no random encounters, where all the enemies are visible and will give chase if you come too close. Another treat is seeing your entire party rather than just your character as you travel. It gives you a nice feeling of camaraderie and a constant reminder that you're not on this journey alone. No Kuni excels in beauty, and upon researching this game, it makes me want to play the remastered PS4 version. So that's something you could look forward to in the future. Then maybe I'll be able to get to the second one. Number 2. This game needs no introduction, as it's commonly referenced as one of the greatest JRPGs. Its placement here is a celebration of ingenuity, doing something no other game at the time had done: walking the player through the devastation of the world. Final Fantasy VI sealed itself in the hearts of many for its characters and unforgettable storytelling. The overworld is laid flat, made of 2 continents. The predominant colors are greens, peaches, browns, and blues. This world is known as the World of Balance. And you know, that's cool and all, but that's not what Final Fantasy VI is known for. 6 isn't the first Final Fantasy to have completely different overworld maps, but it is the first to situate you in the midst of the world's ruination. It's a whole new playground to experience that has you not only rediscovering old homes, but finding familiar places repurposed. This all happens on the floating continent when Kefka moves the petrified remains of the warring triad from their resting places, thus upending the World of Balance and reshaping it into the World of Ruin. The planet is torn apart, its mountains sundered. The lush greenery we knew pales to a sickly green-yellow. Few trees remain, standing amongst the desolation, and even the ocean that once shone like a sapphire is blackened in the wake of the cataclysm. The world becomes broken, torn apart, just like you from your companions. The bleak state of your surroundings and this drastic change only perpetuates the feeling of abject isolation. The geography's transformation has a direct impact on the story's tone and progression, strongly evoking a sense of sorrow and tragedy to an incredible degree. Few stories across the vast caches of media out there come this close to making a triumph of a villain feel so consequential, and Final Fantasy VI powerfully makes use of its overworld design to illustrate exactly why you have to defeat Kefka. Number 1. Last but certainly not least, and it might seem underwhelming considering my number 2, but I just love this decaying world so much. Are we noticing a theme here? I will never not love Filgaia of the Wild Arms series. Wild Arms is already a nostalgic game for me, being my second to memory JRPG. Filgaia is a land that is struggling to survive. The palette is muddy, even trees have that shit green look to them. If I'm being honest, this might be the least impressive overworld for many, as it doesn't have items to find, your party following behind you, but what it does have is a banging soundtrack that evokes the feeling of a wild frontier, giving the world an atmosphere that seems more desolate and harsh than what the graphics are able to portray. Most importantly, I love how you close in on a new location, the map zooms in and text fades in as the screen goes to black. What really took it to the next level for me was discovering hidden areas this way. When you're able to fly, you can find footing on a patch of land that's seemingly deserted. But take a stroll on foot and you might find the camera zooming in, opening up a new place to explore. Late in game, retracing your steps can lead to secret hidden bosses in the overworld. It feels like nature itself is inviting you to challenge the dangers that await a bold adventurer who dares to march onward. And if you're anything like me, you'll gladly march toward these epic beings and give them a taste of your blade. Or arm. Wild Arms does so many things right, and if you dare to brave the Wild West, take a look at my Wild Arms review, or see where another game of the series ranks in my top 5 JRPGs with the best dungeons. Also, it's your girl's birthday, May 15th, so if you want to get your girl a little something something, Amazon wishlist is in the description. There's some games I want for a review, also some art books. Either way, it's appreciated. And be sure to check out my Patreon, where you can vote on what next top 5 topics, join the Discord, early access, and get postcards. Thank you so much for the support. Mwah!